At the Centennial celebration of our family company, my grandfather chuckled into the mic. Some of us lead, some of us watch, and some of us just try. He looked straight at me as everyone laughed. I smiled, waited 15 silent years, slowly acquired controlling shares through blind trusts, and when the time was right, forced a board vote to liquidate the entire company. The family name was stripped from all buildings, archives were closed, and what took 4 generations to build was gone overnight. His last public statement begged for mercy, but no one answered. I was 23 when my grandfather humiliated me in front of 500 people. I smiled while it happened, stood there in a cheap suit, clapping like everyone else, holding a glass of champagne I couldn't afford, acting like I didn't hear him clearly. But I heard him. And I remembered every word. He stood at the podium in the grand ballroom of the Langham Hotel in Pasadena. The room smelled like old money and shrimp cocktails. The entire Wolf family was there, dressed like royalty, to celebrate 100 years of Colburn and Wolf Enterprises. 4th generation, privately held, $3.2 billion in assets, with buildings, businesses, and charities across California and Nevada. All built by my great-grandfather and expanded by my grandfather Richard Wolf, who still ran the whole thing like a damn king. I was the only son of his firstborn child, my dad, who died suddenly when I was 12. After the funeral, my mother was quietly pushed out of the family circle. I was sent to school out of state, told I'd be taken care of, and that they'd figure something out for me in the future. I never heard my name mentioned again at shareholder meetings. Not once. Then came that night. The celebration. Everyone had a drink. Everyone had a toast. And then my grandfather took the microphone, raised his glass, and said, "Some of us lead, some of us watch, and some of us just try." He dragged out that last part. Let it hang in the air. And while people laughed, because they always laughed at whatever he said, he looked straight at me, like I was the punchline. That night, I promised myself something. If he wanted to see me as the guy who just tried, then I'd try until there was nothing left of the name he built. I'd be patient. I'd be quiet. But I'd never forget. And one day I'd erase it all. Phase 1. Shut my mouth and work. For the next 3 years I disappeared. I took a basic analyst job at a mid-sized investment firm in San Diego. Nothing flashy. $56,000 a year. Lived in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and instant noodles in the kitchen. I didn't tell anyone who I was, or where I came from. I kept my name low. Just Aaron Wolf, the guy who stayed late and didn't talk much. I read everything. Public records, shareholder agreements, trust law, anonymous holding structures, hostile takeovers, Delaware loopholes. I didn't just want to own part of the company. I wanted to control it, and tear it apart from the inside out. I went to weddings, funerals, birthdays. Always polite. Quiet. I shook hands, sent cards, made small talk. I let them forget I existed. That was fine. That was the plan. The first move was tiny. I set up an LLC in Nevada, Cascade West Holdings, a shell company, with a fake consulting front. Then I used it to buy 0.3% of Colburn and Wolf voting shares from a cousin who owed 6 figures in gambling debt and wanted quick cash. He didn't even ask where the money came from. Just signed the papers. Then came more shells. Redwood Canyon Trust, Abelhorn Capital, 8 Pines Equity. I ran them through friends, ex-coworkers, even a girl I once dated who now managed portfolios in Vancouver. One by one, I started collecting minority stakes. Always small. Always quiet. Always through third-party proxies. By year 6, I had 19.4%. Enough to raise eyebrows, but not enough for anyone to feel threatened. I wasn't a threat. I was the quiet cousin. The one who just tries. Perfect. By year 8, I controlled 34.7%. The shares came from everywhere. Old executives cashing out. Family friends who hadn't seen dividends in years. Nephews getting divorced. I didn't target them. I just made sure someone else was always the face of the deal. Someone outside the family. Someone they didn't think twice about. Still, no one asked questions. The board meetings rolled on. My name wasn't on any public filings. Not directly. They saw Cascade West, 8 Pines, Redwood, but didn't see me behind them. Every time I visited family, I'd shake my grandfather's hand. He'd ask about my little investment gig. Smile like he was being generous by pretending to care. Then he'd go back to talking about the next land deal with my uncles. He never saw it coming. Year 13. Family retreat in Lake Arrowhead. Expensive cabin, private chef, catered wine tasting. I was there, being my usual quiet self, watching the younger cousins compete over who got the next leadership title. My cousin Dean, already bloated with arrogance, got drunk and leaned in during dinner. "No offense, man," he slurred, "but you're not really part of the business side of the family. You're more like the ceremonial grandson." Ceremonial. That word stuck with me. I went home and called my lawyers the next day. We were done waiting. 90 days later, I submitted a motion for a full board meeting. The agenda had one topic: vote to liquidate all assets of Colburn and Wolf Enterprises. Remove the Wolf name from all properties, holdings, and entities. The board gathered in downtown LA, same room they'd met in for decades. Dark oak table. Wolf family crest on the wall. My grandfather walked in last, still thinking he ran the room. Until he saw my name on the agenda. Until he saw the ownership report. Until he realized I held 51.2% of the controlling vote. He turned pale. "This is a joke," he said. I didn't answer. The vote was called. 9 in favor. 5 against. The company was done. My grandfather stood, hands shaking. His voice was thin. "You can't do this. This company is our legacy." "Your father," I cut him off. "My father died working for a man who never respected him. You spat on me for years. This is your legacy now." He slumped into his chair. No one said anything. The name Wolf was off the walls within a month. After the vote, the news spread like wildfire. The liquidation wasn't quiet. It couldn't be. The buildings, the leases, the foreign partnerships, they all started collapsing in real time. Hundreds of employees got offers from the buyers. Some refused. Some called it betrayal. The local papers ran it as a bold business shift. But inside the family, it was a funeral. My phone didn't stop ringing for days. My Uncle Ray was the first to lose it. He showed up outside my apartment in San Diego. I didn't buzz him in, so he sat in his car for 3 hours before finally driving off. The next morning, he sent me a voicemail that ended with, "I hope you rot alone." He didn't get it. I was already used to being alone. Dean, the ceremonial idiot, went on a podcast. He actually said this on air. "I think the liquidation was like premature. I mean, we could have done a restructure. Whoever pulled the trigger must not understand legacy value." That clip went viral for a minute. He had no clue it was me. None of them did. They still thought I was a minor shareholder. They didn't understand how the trusts worked. How many layers I built. How many names I hid behind. I had become invisible to them. And now they were trying to fight a ghost. She called me one night a week after the vote. "You did this, didn't you?" I didn't answer. "He hurt you." "He hurt me too. But this is a war. Be careful." She didn't scold me. She didn't congratulate me either. Just warned me. I remember sitting there in my kitchen thinking maybe this ends here. But it didn't. Because my grandfather wasn't done. 3 weeks later, I got served. My grandfather had filed an emergency petition in probate court to freeze assets held by what he claimed were fraudulent trusts designed to harm the estate. He named 6 shell companies, accused me of using insider knowledge and malicious intent to damage the family. He was trying to undo the whole thing. And for a second, I thought he might win. He had money, lawyers, judges on speed dial, friends in every old money country club across California. And he wasn't afraid to use all of it to crush me. But here's the thing. I had time on my side. 15 years of it. Every shell, every trust, every transaction, all built to withstand exactly this. The court date came. My lawyer stood and said one thing. Every asset was acquired legally, and every action was approved by the board. The petitioner's issue is not with the process, it's with the outcome. The judge agreed. Case dismissed. 2 months later, they invited me to a peace dinner. I knew it was fake, but I went. It was at my Aunt Janice's house in La Canada. She served dry salmon and stale wine. My grandfather sat at the head of the table, thin and shaking. Not the same man from the Centennial. This one looked older. Smaller. He raised a glass. It didn't shake because he was angry. It shook because he couldn't hold it steady anymore. We built something great. You could have made it better. But you chose to destroy it. I didn't answer. Because he was right. I didn't want to fix it. I didn't want to lead it. I wanted to kill it. And I wasn't done yet. After that dinner, no one invited me to anything again. No birthdays. No Christmas cards. Nothing. That was fine. I figured I'd be left alone after that. The company was dead. The name was gone. I got what I wanted. But then something strange happened. I started getting letters. Not emails. Not texts. Actual handwritten letters. All from former employees. Some from as far back as the 70s. People I'd never met. Secretaries, warehouse managers, a guy who used to fix vending machines in the Vegas office. Most of them said the same thing. I don't know what happened, but thank you. Turns out the company hadn't been golden for a long time. My grandfather and uncles had been quietly gutting pensions, firing long-timers, cutting corners. The employees were just numbers on spreadsheets. Most of them were bitter, waiting to be laid off or replaced. When the liquidation hit, the buyers were forced to honor long-standing contracts as part of the deal. That meant back pay, pension buyouts, severance bonuses. People were getting more money in that one payout than they'd seen in 5 years under my family. They were grateful. And I didn't know what to do with that. About 6 months later, I got an email from a woman named Pamela Riker. She used to be my dad's executive assistant back in the 90s. She'd retired early, moved to Arizona, and lived mostly off the grid. She said she wanted to meet. Said she had something for me. We met at a diner near the border. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed emails, a few handwritten memos, and a scanned copy of a legal agreement. All of it was dated around the time my dad died. I sat there reading while my hands shook. My grandfather hadn't just taken over the company after my dad's stroke. He'd pushed him out. Weeks before his death, my dad had been removed from the board in a quiet emergency vote. The memo was signed by my grandfather and 2 of his brothers. They cited emotional instability and questionable decision-making. There was no public statement.
No obituary mention.
Just silence. He died a week later, alone in a hotel in Anaheim, supposedly of a stroke. But there was no autopsy. No one ever questioned it. Pamela leaned in and said, "He looked scared that week. Like he knew they were coming for him." My stomach turned. It wasn't just business anymore. They hadn't just cast me aside. They buried my dad alive, then pretended he never existed. I went back through archive board minutes, old bank records, estate documents. I found strange gaps. Large transfers. Undocumented meetings. At least one trust my dad set up had been reabsorbed by the company a month after he died, even though it was supposed to go to me. That trust was worth $7 million. Gone. And the board signed off on it like it was a budget line item. They didn't just erase me. They robbed me blind. I had spent 15 years planning revenge for one insult. I had no idea how deep the betrayal went. And I wasn't going to stop now. I didn't sleep for 3 days after I read those papers. It all hit me at once: the truth, the lies, the years I spent thinking the worst thing they did was laugh at me. That speech, that toast, that smirk. I thought that was my reason. But it wasn't. My father had been destroyed from the inside, by his own family. I was just the leftover piece they forgot to toss out. Now I understood what really needed to be done. I called Pamela again, and asked if she'd be willing to testify. She said yes. Then I found an old estate lawyer who'd handled my dad's finances in the early 2000s. He still had copies of letters my dad sent warning that the board was pushing him out, that he was afraid for his health, that someone had been altering documents behind his back. This wasn't just business anymore. This was fraud. Possibly worse. I turned it all over to the state attorney's office. Then I filed a civil suit against the remaining board members and the Wolf estate, not just for the stolen trust, but for wrongful removal, financial suppression, and breach of fiduciary duty. The lawsuit exploded in the press. The family was dragged through every local news station in Southern California. Every dirty deal. Every lost pension. Every crooked land swap. Public records poured out. Court reporters camped outside their houses. I didn't even hide anymore. They knew it was me. I wanted them to know. My Uncle Ray lost his real estate license after they found he signed off on fake appraisals tied to company deals. My Aunt Janice filed for bankruptcy after the legal fees drained her accounts. My cousin Dean fled to Nevada and tried to start a podcast empire. It lasted 2 episodes before he got sued for defamation by one of his exes. The Wolf Foundation, the charity arm of the company, was audited and found to have misallocated over $2.4 million in donor funds. It was shut down in 6 months. And my grandfather? He gave one last public interview. He looked nothing like the man who stood at the mic all those years ago.
No smile. No pride.
Just fear. My grandson took everything from me, he said. He ruined 100 years of work. But when the reporter asked him about the trust theft, about my father's board removal, about the falsified documents, he said nothing. He died the next morning. Heart attack. Alone in his Pasadena mansion, surrounded by paintings of a legacy that no longer existed. Me? I won the lawsuit, got back what was stolen, plus interest. But the victory didn't feel how I thought it would. I had no family left. No one to celebrate with. The name Wolf meant nothing now in business, in philanthropy, in history. I'd erased them so well I'd erase myself too. That's what revenge really does. Gives you exactly what you asked for. And nothing else. So when people ask me what happened to Colburn and Wolf, I tell them, some of us lead. Some of us watch. And some of us finish the job. And that's exactly what I did.